This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. What a beautiful afternoon this morning, sitting here in this very beautiful trees with, looks like a leopard right on top of the tree. It's an magical. And welcome aboard to your very own safari through the African bush. Good afternoon, everybody again. As you can see right there, we have a beautiful leopard right on top of these marula trees. It's amazing that actually, as we got here, she was just walking across the road and she climbed this beautiful tree right in front of us. My name is Andrew. On camera, I have Marcel this afternoon. So it's a wonderful way of a start of this drive. Didn't actually have to travel far from the camp, and we got a leopard. So she's basically looking around. Probably is actually kind of maybe hunting technology. She knew she would do all the best by herself. So it's actually quite warm here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. Today's temperature is 35 degrees Celsius and 95 Fahrenheit. And then of course such a cat. It was amazing. You know, they would amaze you sometimes. You find them moving in a heat when they have to. When there's a chance that allows them to do that, they can do it. Marina, indeed, it's fantastic already. You know, just begin with a leopard. You know, it means that, you know, we will succeed, we will be successful in this drive. It's amazing she just actually changed now, look away from us. She will probably look at us. But this will probably look around and that. So remember, we're coming to you live from a few different locations. So we would like to hear from you by bringing the question, communicate with us, and make kids' questions, or either the age, under the age they can use kids' questions at WildEarth.tv, as well as on Twitter, #WildEarth, and as well on YouTube channel, at FC, and WildEarth.tv and Explorer. We would much appreciate, or would like to hear from you more about your thought and communication with us as we coming to you live. Here looks like she's gonna look at us again. I think it's Dulu. I think. So if it's her, no, Kalambo is actually. So we're gonna stay put here. In the meantime, I'll be sending you over to Lauren with her elephants.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to an extremely hot day here in Djuma. This pair of bulls, young boys, are at Treehouse Dam doing exactly what I wish I could do. Even in Treehouse Dam, yes, I would jump right on it. Listen, My name is Lorna. I have Simon on camera, but let's quickly go back to these boys. They're having far too much fun to look at me. Wow. They actually came out and they went straight back in the water again. The seats are burning, the steering wheel is hot. All our cold water has already melted. The temperature is apparently 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, but I think it feels a lot hotter than that. I'm not sure Google is always entirely correct. But this pair are just having the best time. And I'm sure Andrew's already told you, but please do talk to us. Send in all your wonderful questions that make us think and your lovely comments that make us laugh. You see, these elephants are standing. So what this shows you is it sort of shows you the depth of Treehouse Dam. It's got a lot deeper since the rains. But you can see that they can't properly submerge. They can stand. They're tempted to go out, possibly to continue feeding, but they're also tempted to not go anywhere at all and stay cool in the water. That's how you submerge yourself. Roll over onto your side. What a perfect start to the day with leopards and elephants. They may leave the dam shortly, but we'll try and stay with them. And for now, we're going to send you across to Kim and her lions.
Welcome to andBeyond Phinda, everybody. We have come back to this pride of lion that we were with this morning. And as you can see, not much has changed. They're all just sleeping quite fat after their meal that they had last night, panting away in the heat. Just before you came to us, they did walk across and get into that deep bush. And I don't know if they'll be moving anytime soon. But I'm Kim, and behind the camera we've got Odie. And I hope we have a good drive this afternoon. This morning, they were quite interested in some zebra. So I think that if we give them some time, we may see some action, maybe a little bit later on when it cools down. I don't think we'll spend the entire afternoon with them, but we may revisit them a little bit later on. We were also chatting this morning about how the cubs are all quite full, and the mothers are not that full, so they are still quite keen to hunt. And I think that they might do that a little bit later on. You can see a few of the youngsters. There are 5 of them. See a few of them under the bushes there. Looks like there must be quite a few flies under there. He's got his tail swatting and his ears flicking around. That's quite an interesting question. Yes, an incident actually just happened now that was quite interesting. One of the cubs was over in a bush on our other side, and they were just sleeping together, and she kind of got up in like a bit of a fright, and her foot had been like stuck underneath part of the tree that she was sleeping underneath, and she was kind of like attached to the tree, and she looked quite unimpressed. It was just quite a funny incident. So that's probably quite an interesting lion behavior. I don't know how she got her foot stuck there in the first place. It's something a little bit unusual and different. But lions have got quite a few different and interesting behavior traits. I think in my opinion, the most interesting thing is like the social dynamics and how they coordinate their hunting. And I think that they're able to coordinate their hunting so well because they have such strong bonds, and that's maintained by how they act with one another, by grooming one another and greeting one another and just being overall quite closely knit as a group. I think that we might leave these lions already. And then come back a little bit later on this evening. I think we'll go out, see if we can find anything else. We'll send you over to JP with his weaver's nests.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we're based in the Northern Cape province of South Africa in a semi-arid environment, which is known as a Kalahari, which also refers to a dry environment or thirst land, which was a name given to the early people that used to come in here. My name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera, we've got Craig. So our plan for this afternoon is to see if we can maybe find some reptiles. Temperatures is nice and high, lovely 31 degrees Celsius, and the ones that we are looking for specifically this afternoon often associates with sociable weaver nest, and these are the Cape Cobra as well as boomslang. We'll also be working a few of the water holes and hoping to make our way slightly further west into the dune fields and tell you a little bit more about this ecosystem a bit later. At the moment, there's just a large number of sociable weavers that's busy rebuilding on their nest. These little guys are continuously working at their nest. They never stop. One of their strategies is simply to prepare everything in advance, and by the time that conditions are perfect for nesting, they don't have to waste time on building a nest. They can just straight away mate, and then from there on use the resources which is available after the rain to feed their young. We're just going to allow for a quiet moment, and you can hear these little sociable weavers chatting away.
Thanks, JP. So we're still here with our beautiful leopard, still up in the tree, but she's up there, so she's probably looking around. We're not sure if she's going to come down while we're here. But yeah, this is all about maybe once you get up there, look around just to search, because this area, just on the western quarantine, where usually it's a lot of impalas, antelopes. Here she comes down. Looks like she's going down right now. Such a beautiful cat. So I'm gonna follow her. It still hasn't a lot of a car coming in here yet, so we still have a chance to do that. There's only myself and then one station, so we'll probably let's try stick with her, see how far she goes. Quickly that maybe, I don't know. This morning we searched around here. The leopard that was in the area we know of for sure. Sorry, do you want to repeat that question again? T-bird. So they do sometimes when they get a lot of food around them. So a sea leopard that had maybe 2 different skills. If that happened, if he or she failed to feed on both, it happens that she'll abandon one and then she stick with one. But if there is no such a push, or she's in or his own territory that the kill is, and it's only the kills he has, and then they're more likely to stick around and not to leave anything behind or until it's finished, and they can able to move to different places again. So if then it happens sometimes because the territory it's overlap, where now she crossed to another leopard's territory, where that is all about hunting. Now, if she kills something, or he kills something, he may spend a lot of time in there eating. But there is a chance maybe they might disturb, then probably dominant male come in, and all you see is kind of a chase one another, or otherwise the strong male will able to, steal the carcass then. And then we've seen quite a lot that, it's a lot of impala ram around here, where sometimes you find that when they kill, they don't actually go for one, they have to double kill sometimes and they stick with one. So I'm going to be sending you to Lauren while I'm following this leopard.
They're coming. They're getting closer. I can see them.
Sorry, Lauren. So we're trying to move into the area where she have moved in, which is actually very nasty thicket here. But there's a 2 vehicle where the other one is going around. I'm going to check on this side here. I'm sure we're going to bump on her. Now she's on her own mission, where it's all hunting, going through this woody area, and always come out with something. All of the baby antelope, well hidden in the bush, will hide by their mother. And she probably knew that, or she'd been actually done a lot of this and succeed. on this hunt she's doing right now.
The same nonsense.
Very like logic is not lacking.
So we are currently driving parallel to the Timavati River in an area called Maboto. Actually one of our favorite roads really. Just passed through an area which was so nice and shady, actually quite sad to have passed through it, and we are now heading into the sun. This is the New Zulu territory. So this is the female leopard we're looking for. We found her tracks, but it seems to be a day old or so. So we're going to keep going. My name's Rowan. Behind the camera is BK. And you are on andBeyond Ngala. So hopefully we can come across New Zulu or one of her youngsters. She's got 2 at the moment. And they seem to hang around in this area quite a bit. So up ahead we've got a pan system. We might be able to find some buffalo bulls just relaxing in the water there. Like I said, it is very, very, very warm. Feels, I think, about 38 degrees, but it feels like 42. Even BK says it is just too hot to be out, which is why we're not seeing a lot of animals. They are the smart ones. They're actually sticking to shade and not coming out sun like us. Have a look here. Tracks in this area. So New Zulu females tracks that are a day old, we're going that way. Hyena tracks also all going in this direction. And all of this head to the pan. You might actually be able to find a hyena just lying down in the pan, also cooling themselves. But as we continue, as we head towards this pan system, see what awaits us there, we're going to send you back to Kim.
Welcome back. Sorry that you only have us, but you can just join us on our search for cheetah. There were some 2 male cheetah found in the area, or in the area that we are heading towards. To find us seen. But let's hope that they are still where they were left. Yeah, and you can imagine cheetah would probably quite enjoy an area like this. We are just going to keep our eyes open. So often with cheetah, they don't actually lie completely flat. They may have their head up just above the grass. So that's what we're kind of looking for, either just a little head sticking up, possibly it's sitting up even. Whoops.
Thanks. So we still got our beautiful female leopard over here. As she's moving right in front of our vehicle. So we also have to stop sometimes, give her a little bit of a chance to do her job. Rest of the hunting. Antelope that will be lying in this kind of thickets would be in a duiker, hiding, baby duiker, newborn impalas sometimes. Those full-grown impalas, they'll be right in the open or in group if they've ever been in this kind of wood like this. Try and move forward. So the general direction is north now. From that last place we got her. It happens maybe, this was like a loop in here because Tswalu it's also here, boundary with Kalamba where she also come in, scent mark and move off back to the west. Around here. See if we can still visual. Oh, we got a visual right here on the right hand side. Muscle. She's busy checking around. This painting that you see, it's all about exhausted hot that take place. It's cool that, leopards that we've been seeing for the past days, few days, we started from the Tingana and, also Kumura Noi was not actually been put on frame for everyone, but he's been around here and then he moved back west, where then we've seen Kalamba and then Lawati up in the far east. I'm not sure that male that walked across the quarantine by last night, the tracks end up somewhere between them where we tried this morning. The other guys were trying hard at that site. They couldn't find anything. What drove this cat now to be active? Richie, so you want to know what the leopards do when they now announce their presence. So, announce the presence of, the female, what they do usually, they play a very important role, especially wherever there's a male, a lot of males, and usually you find she will then, within her territory or with a certain male that is around dominating the area, you find that two males compete sometimes for that dominant, where she will finally make a call if there's the other case where the female at the same time fighting for her. And then whoever win the fight will probably, but I seen was that like a ruler where he was pushed or moving from the, west into Djuma, and Okumura was actually pushing too much. At that time, Tingana was also at the same time pushing a lot, because this was his territory by himself before a lot of a challenge happened. So she finally stick with Tingana then, they have kind of like a unique way of communicate, and of course chemical scent marking that they usually do. It's also important that every time male come across those, you will able to know which female is that. If it's actually a new female in the area, then you will know, and you'll try to find it. But it's so important for the female also, when they're in the area, the dominant male, not to switch place quite a lot, stick around within the male of the dominant male area. That makes a lot of chances for the male once she conceives, and the baby will also be taken care. So it's all about the dominance that works well. Then not dominant, it's hard, because these cubs, when they're born, there's a chance that they get killed by maybe another male leopard that will make him in there, find he's weaker, cannot win a battle. So by getting in the new male, it's all about killing it. So it's so important for the female to play that important role. But when they do that, advertising thereon towards the male, they have to make sure the male it's actually fit enough, strong, to be able to breed with her. She's continuing now, moving west. And keep the distance. I'm sure we will finally get the visual right now. Okay, we'll see if she's gonna move. Now it's difficult, so she's moving between the cars. Another car is then stand by on the far side, but she's still moving through. So I keep up with her. So it happens maybe she stick around. She probably came midday, across that western border in here, where it's actually not surprising me though. Yeah, Ghana and Kumuri, Ghana is around. Kumuri is probably far west, but probably maybe she was either behind that male that came in here. She maybe found out that he's already crossed the quarantine there, and then she has to maybe respect Kalamba in that area, because they have to respect one another, avoiding fighting, growling each other. So female also do fight, but it's not actually worse fight compared to the male. So you want to know if Tswalu ever raised her cubs independently? Not that I know, not that I remember for sure. And I'm just gonna find out, but I don't actually recall. She's moving away actually. Let's just gonna stand here. She'll probably come out of one of this wood over here. So I found out if she ever had a raise cub successfully. I don't remember, but I found out.
Swapped out. Oh. So we are just sitting scanning for these cheetah. I think that they were seen just in the drainage line in front of us, but we've spotted some other cool animals. There's 2 elephant bulls up on the far horizon. Or not the furthest horizon, but on the horizon of this next hill. And there's also 2 rhinos. And it's just a really beautiful scene altogether. We've got these rays of sunshine just lighting up the scenery in front of us. It really is pretty. I am just going to carry on scanning with my binoculars over this grassy hill opposite us, because like I said, apparently that is where these cheetah were last seen. I was also told that the cheetah were looking quite skinny and hungry, so it is possible that they didn't stick around. They may have gotten up to go hunting. I think when we get a little bit closer, then we'll have to start looking for some tracks and decide which direction they've gone in. Yeah, Brad, it is an extremely stunning landscape, and I think that the sun shining through the clouds just makes it all the more stunning. Clouds often add a really nice feeling to a landscape instead of just harsh sunlight. Gives it a bit of a mood or a bit more character. And I can also say that we here on the vehicle are seriously appreciating some cloud cover after how hot we were this morning. Every time one of these rays of sunshine catches us, it's still quite hot. You get a bit of relief every time the sun goes behind cloud again. We've got those rhinos, or just the backs of those 2 white rhinos there. I can also see quite a large herd of giraffe in the distance, further back behind the rhinos. But I've not been successful in finding any cheetah. Oh, there's another elephant. It's completely opposite direction to those 2. It's quite an awesome area to search in, though, because like this, you just stop at the top of the hill and look around. You can see for miles around you and spot animals that you wouldn't if you were maybe on, or if we were maybe on in a flatter area. How often do we get rain? That's a difficult question to answer. It's very temperamental here in Phinda. We are right up, or the reserve actually lies kind of over the Lebombo mountain range, which goes all the way up to the Great Rift Valley. But down here on Phinda, it tends to repel weather systems. So where there might be rain all around us, in the surrounding areas, the surrounding reserves, we often don't get much of that rain. So I suppose my answer to that question would be rather infrequently, especially now. We should be getting a bit more rain than we are at the moment. But our biggest rains, or the most rain we'll be getting, is going to be, well, should be in February, if the season does what it's meant to do. We had a bit of a rain about a week ago, but with these ridiculously hot days that we've been having since then, most of the mud wallows are already starting to dry up. But I do see on the weather apps that we're meant to be getting a whole lot of rain on Friday, which is exciting, and for the next couple of days after that. So that is very, very exciting. I think all the animals will be very happy. And this area actually is usually completely devoid of any animal life or during winter, should I say, when we don't have any rain, because there's no kind of large body of water in this area. So unless it rains and fills up the little pan systems, then there are no water sources in this area for the animals, and there just tend to be no animals in here. But like I said, we got a bit of rain, so some of the pans still will have water in, and that is why we can see all of these animals. We are now going to carry on down into this valley here and try and see if those cheetah aren't hiding behind something and we can't see them from up here. But while we do that, I'm going to send you over to JP.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. Currently we are at the moment sitting in the shade in Tswalu and at Chukuru Dam. So it's 31 degrees Celsius, it's incredibly hot, nothing is moving except for a few little bit of life forms next to the side of water. We just had a new arrival at the dam, 2 ducks that we've not seen before. These are known as red Bull Teals. If they turn, you'll notice that they've got an all red bull and a dark cap. Quite often they are confused with Cape teal, which also has a red bull, but no dark cap like these two ducks have. The other duck species that we find just directly towards the left of them, to the right of them, those are Egyptian geese, which is busy floating around. There was another pair that came into the water body a little bit earlier. They weren't made feel welcome at all. So just to a few other things that we are seeing at the moment, there's virtually not an inch of this edge of this dam that is not covered with butterflies. I'm just going to quickly show you a few more of the butterfly species that has come in. Can you pan in on these over here? We're just going to get Craig to quickly pan in for you onto the butterflies. There's a beautiful black butterfly with white spots, which I would like to point out to you. This is a diadem, and this is the male of a species. The female almost looks very similar to that of an African monarch. She deliberately shares the coloration of these butterflies to make her appear just as distasteful as the African monarch. A few of the others that came in is large greenish-colored butterflies, which is known as African migrants. We're just going to watch them, see what they get up to, and see what else comes to the dam. And in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren, who's busy viewing some elephant.
We have just been watching the most incredible pool party. 3 different herds. 3 different herds. There's youngsters, there's bulls, there's females. Everyone's coming down to enjoy Treehouse Dam. Look how it's glistening in the sun. Now, there was a study released just in September 2020 that actually focused on older males in elephant societies. And it suggests that older bulls actually play a key role, one that's been overlooked, in leading all male groups. So we know that older bulls, gentlemen, can sometimes hang around with askaris, younger elephants that will protect the older bull, and the older bull can pass down knowledge. But other than that, it's been a little bit overlooked. And in the past, some trophy hunters used to talk about older bulls maybe being redundant in terms of breeding. But actually, older bulls are said to be the most successful. They are the prime breeders and they sire the most offspring. So that's point number one. But other than that, the male elephants have actually been shown to occupy a similar leadership role as the matriarch, believe it or not. As the female does for her breeding herds, the older bull does for his bachelor herds. It's way more an important role than we actually ever sort of looked into before. And it's a wonderful study. And it's important that the older bulls are never wiped out and they do retain their status and they do retain their cultural knowledge and their gentleman approach. They're relaxed, they can handle their hormones, they they understand their environment just like the old female matriarchs do. So they play a similar role. They're long-lived social mammals anyway, so once the bull reaches a certain age, they actually play the male version of a matriarchal role in male herds. Isn't that fascinating? The role is far more important than has ever been indulged before. Tracy, I don't believe so. I've never seen it, I don't believe. When you see the elephant jumping on top of the other elephant's back, it's males just sort of asserting their dominance over one another and having a wrestle, having a tussle. They mate on land. And it's not also easy for the female to have a male or another individual of that substantial size on top of her. But they're terrestrial in their mating activities. And going back to that older bull, so the role in the herd, of the bachelor herd, of all male groups, that's what a bachelor herd is that they hold the leading position when the elephants travel, just like the matriarch. The older bulls will lead. We're going to go this way, we're going to avoid danger, we're going to go to this freshwater dam, we're going to go and get this food. They'll also help younger, less experienced males learn how to find food, and how to find water. So it's a really crucial role, and yeah, it's a wonderful study called Old Males Vital to Elephant Societies. Treehouse Dam's always a good dam to check when it comes to for elephant pool parties. Okay, we may move and find some shade shortly. And hopefully we'll find some other animals who are looking to have a drink.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail, it's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. We had to reposition, I'm afraid, everyone. I cannot stand to be on that damn wall anymore, exposed in the sun. So we've slightly got ourselves some shade just so that we can cool down. We still have a view of one elephant. Completely dark in colour. Wet. I'm probably thoroughly happy right now. Most of the vegetation around water bodies is normally very nutritious and palatable. So they're probably just going to make their way to another water point. That's what they'll do. They'll graze, they'll travel, and they'll just make their way to the next water point. Got to keep hydrated, keep cool. That's exactly what we need to do today. The temperatures are extreme. But once they've cooled their body temperature down, they'll continue feeding. They spent a lot of time near the water. They drank a lot of water through their trunks, sucked it up through their trunks, popped it in their mouth. So inevitably they'll start to cool down. Glenn, I don't think so. I don't see why a male would never find a mate. Elephants travel great distances and they use a really keen sense of smell. So they'll never be too far away from the females, and they do check the females regularly to see if they're in estrus or not. I mean, there's possibly an elephant that's maybe in an isolated area that's never found a mate. But other than that, I don't see why. They roam. They're very mobile animals, very water dependent, and they would eventually listen in using their keen hearing and sense of smell and eventually find a female. They've gone off in the distance here, but you can just see the trees moving. And going back to their sort of how would they find the females, they actually communicate using really low frequency sounds, and this is pitches way below the human range of hearing. Now they're actually termed infrasounds, and they're low frequency sound emitted by elephants, and they can travel several kilometers. Now this provides elephants with their own private communication channel, if you like, so they can be talking to one another constantly in their really complex social structures, and we are oblivious. The frequencies are said to be as low as the lowest notes of a pipe organ, if that makes sense to anyone. Sadly, not to me. But it's very, very low, and humans cannot hear it. And they're not quite sure how elephants make these sounds. They think it's from their larynx, their voice box, and it's produced just like human speech or human singing. Okay, we've lost our elephants, I'm afraid. So I think I'm going to try and find some more shade, but it looks like JP's found a butterfly for you.
Good afternoon and welcome back. We're still sitting at Chikudu Dam, just enjoying the views of the dam. Number of birds coming to drink. Hopefully a few of the animals will come soon. But in the meanwhile, we're just going to entertain you with a few of the butterflies coming down to have a little drink. Just to re-mention the species that are coming through here at the moment. Black and white ones is a common diadem. We also have an African migrant, which is the green one. And then the brown veined white, which is overall beige with brown and stripes in it. There was also some African monarchs, which was orange and black and white butterflies, what we saw earlier in this morning's show. Good afternoon, Fred, and welcome to the show. To answer your question, why is there so many? That's most likely because it's very high rainfall here. In terms of the brown veined whites, this is pretty much the area where they originate from when they start their migration after they hatch and then fly from here into a north and easterly direction. And then the second question, answer to that question is simply here to come and have a drink. So we do not see a lot of the butterflies while we're out on drive. However, if we do come to a dam or a little pan with a sufficient water or mud substrate, then they will be drinking. Most insects and animals out there are dependent on some form of moisture. However, there is always a small number of them that will get more than efficient fluids from their foods.
Welcome back. We've gotten a little bit closer to those elephants that we could see up on the horizon. And the sun's shining through beautifully on them. It's actually such an awesome scene with that sun on him. It's like highlighting his tusk beautifully. See how his tusk's nice and clean. Probably been using it to feed, and that often cleans it quite well. Pulls branches over it to help snap them and ends up kind of polishing them quite nicely. But he has got really, really impressive tusks, this guy. Very, not extremely long, but very, very thick. Just so, such a beautiful, peaceful scene, and he seems so calm and just happily eating. Emma, I do not know the distance, but I know that it's very far. They've got these kind of like receptor pads in their feet, and they let out this low rumble from their bellies that they can kind of sense quite far, but I won't be able to tell you exactly how far it is. Sure, with him facing us, you can just see like the width of his head, and even the base of his trunk is so wide. He's just, everything about him is very kind of imposing. With his ears slightly spread like that, I think he's just letting the wind flow over his ears to keep him cool, because even though it is quite overcast, it's still a very hot day. It's just making him look even bigger with those ears standing out like that. Wow. we were also just talking about what we think the age of this elephant is. And you can see it quite nicely now. You see... Oh, well, I was about to answer that question on the same train of thought. But yeah, so you can see his temples are quite sunken in, and also just by the size of his head and that width of the base of his trunk, those all show that he's quite an old elephant. Elephants can live to be about 70. I'd say this elephant's probably in his late 40s. Between 45 and 50, I'd say. Oh, wow, look at the other ones reaching up to the Maruda tree. How cool. So awesome to see them using their trunk like that to reach so high up. Often here on Phinda you can see most of the trees are quite low, and we don't get to see them like using their trunk like that to that extent, because they just normally eat off the low shrubs on the floor. I think that we're going to stay with these elephants, watch them feeding. I can't quite tear myself away from this beautiful scene, but for now we'll send you to Lauren, and we'll keep an eye on these elephants.
It's disappearing now. We've just had the most wonderful views of this leopard tortoise, walking across the road ever so slowly, surviving the heat but requiring moisture. And off it goes into the wet. There's still lots of moist areas around. This is terrible views. I think we shall move on. And that's exactly what the tortoise will be seeking. You have to be very careful where you're driving these days, because they're everywhere. Terrapins, tortoises. You need to make sure, of course, that you don't drive over them. But they do have a bursa sac, and it's a small sac inside that contains lots of water. And they use this for emergencies. If they're ever starting to dehydrate, they can sort of top themselves up with water. They also use it when the female especially is digging to lay her eggs. The soil needs to be moist, and if she can't find moist enough soil, then she'll secrete the liquid through the bursa sac, and it makes it a lot easier for her to dig. But they tend to release this liquid when they get a fright. But if you pick a tortoise up because you're trying to move it off the road, they'll immediately sort of release all the water. They'll empty their sac. And it's not urine, it's just water. And this can leave them really dehydrated. So I'm not saying don't pick a tortoise up and rescue it from the road, but you can at least move it to a place where there's water, and the tortoise can just drink the water and replenish the stores in the bursa sac. Okay, we're going to head on slowly to our next water hole. Okay, so I'm heading to this water hole, and I believe JP is already at his.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. In the meanwhile, we're also looking at a few trees. One that we just found over here is known as a buffalo fawn. In an Afrikaans language, we call it a blinkblaar waggebikkie, which translates into a shiny leaf, wait a little bit. And as you can see on these fawns, one pair pointing upward and another pair pointing downward. If you do get stuck in these, you are going to wait a little bit. So where the tree gets its name from, buffalo fawn, is because of buffalo often having the reputation of moving their backs inside there when they are being harassed by lions. So simply by moving your thick hide into the back of a bush, putting your horns to the outside, you're pretty safe from an attack from a lion who would not like to venture from behind. There's a few interesting things about this tree. One of the things that I do like most is I love coffee, is that you can use a fruit when it's dry and roast that into a coffee substitute. The second thing that I do really find fascinating about this tree is a cultural association with a number of cultural groups within South Africa, especially amongst Zulu and some of the other Nguni groups. So they believe that when a member of their family dies, that they have to go and visit the site where the person has passed away. With them, they will take a branch of the buffalo thorn, wave this in the room where the person has passed away. It's then believed that it will capture his spirit, which they will then wrap in a bundle of material and then transport back to his home, where they will plant this onto his grave. One of the things that I also find fascinating about it is when they transport the person back towards where they must be buried, or where they transport the spirit back to where it must be buried, they also have to pay for the transport of the spirit. And should they stop and take a break for a meal, they also have to buy the person's spirit who they are transporting back home a meal as well. One of the other things that these leaves are often used for in Zulu culture is it's believed that it has some form of aphrodisiac quality. I've eaten quite a few of these and it's done absolutely nothing for me. It's also been used in salads. And lastly, it's said that if you do have a sore throat, you can chew a large amount of these leaves and then swallow the sap to treat that sore throat. So in the meanwhile, we're going to take a little bit of a drive, see what we can go and find. And we're going to hand you over to Kim, who is currently viewing a group of elephant.
So we've just repositioned slightly. It's quite cool being kind of lower than him, looking up like that with him on the horizon. Again, just emphasizing his size. You can see all the mud on his back where they've obviously found a nice mud wallow, like one of the ones that we were talking about earlier. I think there are quite a lot of nice muddy patches in this area after rain because it's so hilly like this. So in all the valleys there'll be nice pan systems where these elephants have definitely been at some point, maybe this morning, that have sprayed themselves with mud, and it'll have dried over the course of the day. And at some point they will probably try and find a tree that they'll go and rub themselves up against, and that'll help to get rid of any parasites that have attached themselves to the elephant's skin. You can imagine you need quite a good exfoliant to get right into all those creases and folds on their skin. I think mud is a good enough one. Mud combined with the rough bark of a tree. Mandla, that is, I assume, just the same as the stuff that would come out of our eyes. So, you know, if you get a bit of dust in your eye and you blink lots and quite a lot of fluid comes out, that's probably what that is. Or if you know, when you wake up in the morning and you've got sleep in your eyes, I'd say that's literally just the same as that. I think that most mammals would have the same fluid in their eyes just to keep it from drying out, or keep them from drying out. And I think that that's probably all that is. You can imagine if you look closely, he does actually have a whole lot of mud on his face as well, and maybe when he was mud bathing himself, he might have got some mud in his eye, and then that fluid just kind of worked a little bit overtime to make sure it got rid of all the mud that might have gotten in. I think that these elephants are going to carry on moving down the hill, and if that is the case, we're going to lose sight of them. So we may carry on with our drive and go and see if we can find anything else.
We have a very hot European roller. They're everywhere. It's fantastic. We see the lilac-breasted rollers everywhere. And of course, now it's the time for the Europeans. Slightly different in coloration. You've got a turquoise colour. It's very hot. I feel you. I feel you. Cooler fluttering. The only really way for birds to cool down without dunking themselves in a body of water. Now, they're normally present in this area from around November. And I've only started to see my first Europeans this time round in December. But last year we didn't see them at all, which was so worrying and so sad. And normally they depart the area around March, April to coincide with the end of summer. They're so lovely. But they're a non-breeding migrant. They don't breed here. They're not here to breed, and therefore, most likely you won't hear them call. They're here to eat, absolutely. But they're generally silent. They'll sometimes make a whack, whack. But they're not really calling, not like the woodlands kingfisher. And that's because they're not advertising, they're not mating, they're not seeking males or females. They actually breed in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. So hot. Well, I think I may have some spots for you, so I'm going to race round. Wish me luck.
So we decided to stay with these elephants, after all. So here we are. You can see the other one. It's definitely not got as impressive tusks as the one that we've been concentrating on. But he does have a lot more mud on his back. He's obviously indulged a little bit more in his mud bathing this morning than the other one did. Also seems quite a lot smaller. Probably be a bit of a younger bull compared to the other one. Can't tell you how cool it is to see so much animal activity in this area, because it has been such a dead zone for the last few months. And now, just everywhere we look, there seems to be more animals. And spotting more rhinos in the distance. I think that maybe when we leave here, we might go and try and see if we can get a bit closer to them. I can also see some buffalo. How cool is that? 3 members of the Big Five, pretty much just in one scene. We can't show them to you just yet because they are a little bit too far away, but I'll do my best, or we will do our best, to get closer and show them to you. Okay, but I think that we are now going to leave these elephants and, like I promised, go and try and get a little bit closer to maybe those rhinos or buffalo, whichever we come across first.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. As mentioned earlier, we are going to go about and look for reptiles this afternoon. We're specifically going from sociable weaver nest to sociable weaver nest in the hope that we might find a Cape Cobra or a boomslang, which often associates with the nests of these sociable weavers. So one of the things that we normally do is we'll keep our eye out by looking, but we
Sorry about that. So we have to leave the area of that leopard. Finally, it was quite a few vehicles interested on that sighting. And we're going to give it a time now, see if once there's a space, but she was pushing west. And then if she don't cross that border, and then we still have a time to go there, then we'll return to that area. So now we're just checking. I'm going to check a few water holes around here, see if it's anything. I'm going to be working around where that last track of that male leopard this morning was end. So around Tundam area, just to see if there's maybe later you would get mobile when it's cooler, and also to see which one is it. Because it happens that maybe it's that Mwati male, or is it Ngana? So one of the two, or could be Hukumuri. So we don't actually sure what that male, which one is it. So, but it's best, we found out that I'm sure wherever he is right now, he's probably just lying flat because it's still hot, and it was so great actually just to follow Shidulu able to perform a hunt into that hunt during the day. So let me carry on driving east here. We're sending you over to JP with a snake.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're just back onto the topic of snakes, which we potentially can find at the sociable weaver nest. And there's a few of the snake species which we would like to share a little bit of information with you about and just show you how they look like. So those of you that are quite alarmed about hearing the word snake, you don't really have to be. Snakes are actually more afraid of us than that we are of them. And at the slightest movement that we provide or friction or movement which we provide, they can pick up our movements and then move off very quickly, as though they would not like to have any confrontation with us. So the first snake which we often find with sociable weaver nest is a Cape Cobra. It actually comes forth in a number of different color patterns, but in general it's got a bright yellow coloration, hence the Afrikaans name, a geelslang, which means yellow snake. It's probably one of the most venomous of a cobra species, and it's regarded as the second most dangerous snake in South Africa. It's got quite a potent neurotoxic venom, which works on the nervous system of its prey. When these snakes are quite young, you'll also notice that they're a yellow coloration, and they've got a broad brown band across the throat. One of the things that I find pretty fascinating about Cape Cobras is that they will quite often feed on other snakes. And if they're not eating puff adders, they're eating their own kind. One of my first trainers and mentors, he told me one day that he caught 3 of these snakes in an outbuilding on an old farm, put them in a bucket, and the next morning when he came to transport them and release them in a safe place, there was only one of them left. So the other one ate the others. The other species of snake which I would like to share with you, which we find here, is a boomslang. So in a moment, I just want to page down. There we go, this is our boomslang. Just going to first show you the male. It's probably one of the most beautiful snakes and one of my favorites. In general, the male has got a bright green coloration. Boom translates into tree, and it's a snake that we often find in trees looking for birds and chameleons, which is one of its favorite meals. As you can see in this picture, they've got fairly large eyes, and they've got actually very good binocular vision. In general, most snakes have very poor vision, and if you stand perfectly still, they won't see you. But don't worry about the boomslang, they shy away from you very quickly. Although they've got the most potent of any snake's venom, they produce very small amounts of it, and they're also back-fanged, which makes it even harder to provide a bite. I just want to quickly show you a picture of a female. In general, we find that the female are browner coloration. Here we go. And then the juveniles, quite interestingly, have a number of different color patterns, a brownish color underneath, and then a bluish yellow coloration on the throat, and a big green eye, as what you can see in this picture, making it one of the very few snake species which has a difference between male and female, as well as the juvenile. Good afternoon, Munji. How they enter the nest is they actually sail up the side of a tree and then they make their way into the nest. So normally what the sociable weavers will also build is a number of false nest chambers, which acts as decoys and to slow down the snake in the process while it's busy feeding on the chicks or on the adults inside the nest. Sometimes you can also see them in the early morning basking on top of the nest. So quite often with snakes, as with any other reptile, they need to indulge in a little bit of sunbathing, as that they need external heat to regulate their body temperature. So that simply means that they can move in or out of the sun to increase or decrease their temperature to a desirable level. The same for the boomslang. It's very well adapted to climbing, and it will enter the nest in the same way. Good afternoon, Linda, and welcome to the show. Yes, they do to a degree prevent them from moving very rapidly through a nest by the snakes being slowed down by the decoy nest. And quite often you'll also see that some species of birds will deliberately mob the snake to try and drive it away. We also see with some of the weaver species, such as the village weavers, village weavers and the lesser mass weaver, and southern mass weavers, that they quite often strip the edges of the leaves off the side of the branches so that they can see snakes coming close by to make it more easy to actually mob them in the process. Good afternoon, Noah. You're 100% right. They're one of the largest of the nests that is built, and we've sometimes found them that they weigh over several thousand kilograms. And we can see that they sometimes form a home for up to 500 individual birds. This one is particularly still small, and hopefully we'll be able to find you a few of the larger nests. Good afternoon, Magic. To answer your question, up to 500 birds has been known to occupy such a nest. One of the other resident bird species that we also find in the area is known as a pygmy falcon. And these little pygmy falcons will also occupy the empty nest chambers of these sociable weavers, and to a degree, as mentioned earlier, they do provide protection. As far as I remember, to answer on that question, how long does it take to build them? Sometimes a large nest can be several decades of age. It's also a continuous work that they will be at to keep on building the nest. So by maintaining the nest right throughout the year, they're actually in a position where they can immediately focus on the nesting, once that the rain has come and there's sufficient food for them to start breeding. We're just going to provide you with a moment to listen to them and listen to the sounds of a Kalahari. One of the other snake species that we do find in the area is known as a puff adder. So quite often they will inflate themselves, hence the name puff adder, to intimidate their potential threats. And they often will hiss as a potential threat approaches them to warn them that they should head off. So puff adders in the western half of South Africa is quite often regarded as one of the snakes that's responsible for most of the snake bites. The snake has a very strong cytotoxin which works on the tissue system, which eventually, if they do bite you, will lead to painful progressive swelling. Puff adders in general are very well camouflaged, and they use their camouflage to get close by to a number of different prey species, which might range from birds as well as a number of rodents that they will take. The second species that is also quite often responsible for snake bites, especially so in the eastern half of South Africa, is the Mozambique spitting cobra, a snake which is very well known for actually spitting its venom. When it's threatened, it will often raise its head and immediately spit straight towards the eyes. They say they're accurate up to 2 meters. This will immediately lead to a burning sensation in the eyes. And it's best to wash this out as soon as possible with water. Some people will claim to use milk. However, it should be best avoided, as milk often congeals and aggravates the situation. So the snake is generally easily identified by its brown upper colors, its pink undercoloration to the throat, and quite often it will spread its hood. Quite often we find with a number of the different cobra species that they will actually spread the hood for 2 purposes. One will be to increase their body temperature, but also to look more intimidating. So how often the snake needs to eat, Lizzie? I've heard that they can go for several months without food, and then they can simply live off their fat reserves. They're way more effective than us or other animals in terms of energy use. And quite often what we'll find is that they will actually just use the temperature of the sun to increase or decrease. And in some species, they will also go into burrows during the coldest part of the winter and then only come out to sun themselves and maintain a consistent body temperature. We, on the other hand, we need to burn carbohydrates, fats, and proteins to maintain a consistent body temperature, which makes us less effective in temperature control and requires us to eat way more. Slender mongoose. Good afternoon, Janice, and welcome to the show. To answer your question, yes, they do have a short little entrance tunnel towards the main chamber. So there's a number of small individual chambers, which will, just to correct myself there's a number of small individual chambers which will be accessible from a small little tunnel. And that is where the pair will nest inside. And meanwhile, we're going to watch these guys for a short while and hand you over to Andrew, who is currently viewing a group of elephant.
Thank you very much. So we're in this position of a twin dam right now. What you see on the far end looks like a one young elephant, but could be more in that far west. Actually heard them kind of like trying to, communicate, which maybe they might come to the water hole here at Twin Dam. So we're going to give it a little bit of a time here. Hopefully they come. Well, it's been actually very hot for everyone, us, animal, birds, grasses. So animal, they were definitely going to have to drink water after that heat that had happened during the course of the day. You can see that it's actually even following a little bit of a shade of that animal, so it's always so important for them to stick in the shade and while they're feeding, because they cannot actually stop for a long time not to feed. Quite big animal. You want to know how many elephants group of herds in Djuma? I'm not sure, but we've seen a lot of different herds come in and out of this area quite a lot, and some of them are very shy little, and they don't actually get used to a noise at all. And then these that come from the east part most, they're probably originally from Kruger National Park, where they don't experience company so close by, I believe. Where we do have a few group also come from the south, across to the north, west to the east. And we have another huge herd that sometimes they come from the northwest and they cross to back to the west again, eastwards towards the Djuma camp there. And all you find massive of probably about maybe 40 in group, where they can actually get up to probably 50 or over 50 in a herd sometimes, if they're in there. So I'm going to move forward slightly here, so we're going to get a visual there of the elephants. I believe still there. Looks like already two of them there. Already one, the second one had showed up. So there's a chance that, whole herd would come in this area. But you found already done drinking, so this is all about where in the open way now they are. It's a lot of herbs that are growing in there, and licorice type of herbs. They prefer them. Social structure of the elephant, so it seems to be all same there of all animals. We understand elephants, they when we're talking about how they get around, or intelligent animals we're talking about, and they cannot actually clever enough more than human, what we understand for sure. But, they structure its strength and is very strong. All member in a herd, all related somehow, however, how many of them in a herd, they got to be related there, and that's how it formed the group of herd. And then, of course, all different herds, they all come from different area, but they're not territorial at all. So it happens, they would overlap their range every time when they're moving through the wood during the course of their feeding day, because they can stand feed at night, also in the day. So each one know which group belong to, especially these females, so important. If it happens, maybe get lost or separate, then always join the other group, which is, won't be a problem much. They're able to get support from the rest. And then the structure, it's, a while ago when these animals were probably cowed and kind of thing like this was happening, it was only difficult to, control the group, especially the females, where the structure of about, maybe talk about 30 or 40 of them. And if you're going to ever cull them, you got to have to wipe them all, or then you have to wipe the half. Then or you cannot capture them, transfer them to somewhere else as a females. You cannot take one females and put wherever out there. She will be very isolated so much, not allowed to many of a group out there. So it's so important that you got to know when you do that, you do in a certain group that they are related animals. It's an individual group that for sure. And then you can able to do that, but make sure you take females with a young one, if you understand them, the structure there, and then how you're going to move them to another reserve. But if they're 15, which it works, they will remain as a 15 in a group, as a females, move around, and then get used to the area. But if it's never far away from where you just remove them from, they also have this very, memory map where they will always find their way back. But this is how they communicate then to the other members. And that communication, they might find themselves back where they just came from. So everyone know what trigger elephant to charge human. Well, a lot of time, we as a human, and whenever we're on foot, we are actually serious target to most of animals. All animals, not only elephants, but for elephants, they, it's self-defense that you see the charged vehicles sometimes is because sometimes they are rotated or there's been so much going on their heads. So when they have mood change quite often, and sometimes they going too much through stuff on their head where it cannot focus, so they're in stress. It's actually stress what caused that charge, and of course not wanting any company. So that what caused the charge there. And that stress would actually drive them to an angry animal. And then when you see that, especially these bulls, when they're on mast, and one thing for sure, you don't want to be around animals like that, because all the focus is to find a female to mate. So, but it's easy to tell that male, even so far away, either he would smell him, or you would probably check the temporal gland for a male. It's sweating hard, and then of course back underneath of the back leg, it's always dripping of the urine all the time. So that punching smell you pick up easily, even though then you kind of like maybe 200 yards or things like that. Of course, then those males are very dangerous when they're en masse in herds of females, protective, against their young one. So it's quite a few things that it's actually trigger them to charge. So I'm going to stay put here. Hopefully the rest of the group come into this area. I'm going to be sending you over to a JP with his animal tracks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're just on to a little tracking session again. So we stopped to see what actually crossed the road, and we made the discovery that it was a number of baboons that crossed over here. So if you would like to ask me how do I know it's a baboon, the answer is very simple. Just like us, they've got a opposable thumb, which they use to manipulate their food, as well as holding and climbing onto things, which they are very good with. I just would like to show you the differences between the feet over here. Right over here, we've got a right foot over here, and you can see the opposable thumb over here, and then a number of very broad nails in the front over here. And these nails are also often used very effectively as weapons against potential threats. And for a baboon, one of the biggest enemies is definitely leopard. So much that leopard has learned that they should best to try and take them at night when they can, in trees while they're roosting. Every now and then, a leopard will decide that it's maybe a good opportunity to catch one which is falling behind the group. However, if this is not calculated well, he can come under attack of that group of baboons, where a number of these dominant males will then attack him. Just to come back to the feet, if we have a look at it, once again the opposable thumb, which is a characteristic of all primates, with the exception of the spider monkeys, which we don't find in Africa. With them, they simply don't need a thumb as they swing from tree to tree, and a thumb will get into the way. Right over here, there we've got another right hand, where you can just see the thumb over here and the small part of the pad. As we mentioned in one of the previous editions of the show, that we get a number of different track types which we can categorize tracks into. The first and most primitive of all is known as a plantigrade track, where the animal will walk on its whole foot, and baboon is a classic example of that. We also mentioned that we do find tracks which is digit grades, tracks which is that of cats and dogs, and then lastly the unguligrade tracks, which belongs to species like antelope and the giraffe, which was the most advanced of the tracks. Just as a quick recap on a few hints on how to look at tracks when we are tracking. Once again, you would always like to try and get the light right. So you put the track between yourself and the sun so that you can get the best potential image. The second thing is always to get the track direction right. So then you need to study the track and determine what it is. And then lastly, sometimes you want to step back and have a look at the big picture of what's going on around you. Especially if you only have a partial track that's been left by that baboon, it can potentially be confused for a leopard or something else. But when you step back, you'll very soon see that there was a large number of baboons that actually crossed through this area.
Afternoon, guys. Getting mobile, heading towards the eastern side of Horseshoe Mountain.
WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Moritz, and I come to you live every day from Tswalu Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators, and as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege. And I love their behavior, you know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still just quickly having a look at the baboon tracks and see what they got up to. Just by looking at these tracks, it looks like they were made last night, and they're heading to the direction of a mountain where they most likely would have gone and roosted. What I do find quite fascinating about roosting sites, there might be trees or there might be cliff faces, as that the dominant males in that group will choose the best places to sleep, with the less dominant individuals having the worst of the sleeping places, making them the most vulnerable to a predator such as a leopard that might try and sneak up on them at night. As mentioned earlier, their nails are also very large and can be used as weapons. However, their canines are even more impressive, and these are also often used as weapons against a potential threat. They might actually be longer in most cases than that of a lion, and also incredibly sharp. Good afternoon, Daisy. They're fairly common in Tswalu. We do see them quite often along the cliff face and the mountains where they will be feeding. Sometimes we find them on the open flat plains areas where they will move into the dune system. But more than often, we tend to see them on the mountain sides. One of the things that I always notice about baboons of this area is that they are much more hairy compared to the ones that we find in the Lowveld. And the reason, therefore, is our winters are much colder. With regards to the question if animals use a track to follow animals, the physical track, I wouldn't say no. However, they can use scent to track down an animal. And scent is probably one of the most well-defined senses within any animal, especially so in insects. Also, quite often when we do find predators hunting, they'll also deliberately walk diagonally with the wind to pick up the scent of a potential prey animal, and then from there on move into the direction of the wind so that they can detect the animal. We also find quite often that when lions do get separated, they can follow one another by means of scent, as the glands between the feet will also secrete a scent. Quite often when lions also claw against trees, that will also be a deliberate action to leave a scent mark for another individual to smell. afternoon, Lisa. To answer your question, in general, baboons are omnivores, so they eat anything from plant material. Quite often you'll see them stripping pieces of bark off. They will also go for nestling birds and nests that they will raid. And I've also seen them going for small impala lambs just after they've been born. And once or twice I've also seen them actually grabbing a scrub hare, where they pulled the scrub hare apart and ate it. And meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Andrew, who is currently enjoying some elephant action at one of the local dams.
Thanks, JP. So, eventually, one of the young elephants over here come to the water. As you can see, it's already wet a bit. Only drink a little bit, but the rest of the time we're just, pouring water over the top of their body. It looks like it's a female and a young one there. So looking at these young ones, probably age of maybe 4 years and a half, 5 years, somewhere there. Young male. Which it happens, they might maybe separated from the group of other friends, which it happens they maybe far, or they already walk past this area. And sometimes, since it's so much of grasses and they don't have many of the enemies, so they can still take their own time in this area, feed. But when they're in need of hook up again with the rest, or communicate, which insists I get here, then it was not even a single communication that happened. Where maybe they haven't yet in need of reunite again. So we talk about when they're out in this open area, they would feed on quite a lot of herbs, this licorice type of herbs, which is aniseed. And they actually for us smells like really licorice type of herbs, but they are wild. So there is a time they will mix to those. So, lazy boy, you're asking how heavy the elephant trunk can get. That I'm not sure, but I'm going to double check or find out. And of course, these big bull elephants, they have very massive, long and enough thick trunk. But I'm going to double check on that and find out. So that young one's actually flapping their ears quite a lot. It's because of the hot that is taking place, even though they have taken a bath just now. So I'm going to be staying here on put. Then I'm going to be sending you over to Mike. There's Zebra.
So while that elephant flaps its ears, you can see the zebras are flapping their tails or wagging their tails. Not so much because it's hot, not to cool down, but more to keep the incessant buzzing, biting insects away from the rather sensitive and soft parts between the back legs there. Very important to keep them very protected. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Seb, and you're at Eco Training's Pride Lands Conservancy, where we are sitting on zebra clearings, or at least on the edge of zebra clearings, watching these zebras as well as impalas and a wildebeest, and waiting for a herd of elephants that was just at Ndlovu Dam that is coming from behind us. I'm sure they're going to also make their way towards this clearing, which would be super nice to see them. As you can see, the sun is beginning to set. The animals are making their way towards this clearing because it's going to be nice and open for them this evening. I think there's a bit of a windstorm / rain potentially coming this evening. And that's what the weatherman says, but we know how well they predict. So who knows what might happen, but animals are generally good indicators of weather. We saw a few tortoises, Seb and I, over the last few days, being very active. That's usually a sign that there's probably a bit of rain coming, generally speaking. But right now, all is calm, and the zebras are grazing. The impalas are with all their lambs, with the wildebeest just gazing on. This group is always together. These two zebras, wildebeest, and this herd of impalas, they always associate with each other, and that's not because they're friends necessarily, but this is just the area that they find themselves in, and it's better to be together, safety in numbers. The wildebeest is territorial, and the zebras are territorial over groups of females, and the male impala are territorial in terms of protecting the herd that they have. But the only one that's actually territorial, as far as I'm aware, is the wildebeest. The rest are fairly motile, meaning that they can move. They've got a home range, of course, a large area that they all use. Kayla, zebras are not always in pairs. Now, this group, these two zebras have always been together, but generally speaking, well, I mean, they've been together since we've seen them, but generally speaking, you'll find that there will be one male zebra and multiple females. We have 4 or 5 females in a harem, and those will be together. And sometimes you'll find a number of young stallions and young male zebras together. But no, they're not in pairs normally. No, they're not monogamous, so to speak. Their social structure is called a harem, which means one male with many females, generally speaking. It's very unusual to find zebras in pairs, except if they're young and they've only just started to form a harem, or it might be 2 stallions that are moving together in an area, just again for safety more than anything else. Just like what they're doing now. So the wildebeest eats the short grass, and so he's not disturbing the zebra, who don't mind eating the longer, rougher grasses. And the impalas are mixed feeders, which means they can basically eat leaves or grasses. They're not particularly selective. So none of these animals are in direct competition with each other for the resources. Not that it mattered anyway this time of year, because it's so abundant. So whilst we watch these animals being super relaxed, there's another, my favorite animal, being super relaxed with Lauren.
Oh, very relaxed. We finally made it, everyone. I have not seen this man in a very long time. We have the one and only Hukamori. I don't know why we all used to say his name like that, but we did, and we clearly still do. Look at him. We're on Simbambili, and he's at a place called Boundary Pan. He's staying a lot more west. He really pushed into Djuma for a while. We were finding Hukamori on quarantine. He pushed really far east, but for some reason, well, we know the reason. We think it's Mawati. He's just sticking back to the west on Simbambili and Arathusa and properties like that. Now, he looks absolutely exhausted from the heat. There was a huge lineup to see him. Everybody wanted a bit of the hook. Hey, boy. Are you a bit hot there? I know the feels. Hukamuri's in his prime. And it is believed that there's a possibility his territory could have shrunk a little bit. He's under a lot of pressure. He's under pressure from Mulwati to the east and the Tortoise Pan Mail to the south. So he's definitely receiving pressure on both sides. But he's still looking fine. I remember the day that Davy and I found him with his eye injury. Yeah, that was not fun. It was never recovered. It was possibly a claw. So he can't see out of his right eye. Tiana, you're saying, OMG, Hukamuri is alive. Oh, yes. Hukamuri, I want to ask you something, dear. Why do you not come to Djuma? We miss you terribly. Now, his name actually means chicken medicine. Yes, but it's actually named after his mother. The name comes down to his mother, I believe, but if you directly translate it, it means chicken medicine. And I'm not overly thrilled with that. That's why we call him the Hook, the Incredible Hook, Captain Hook. He's a gorgeous leopard, and he's very relaxed. He's relaxed on foot. You can approach Hukamuri on foot, obviously with the right precautions. And he's very relaxed with vehicles as well. He's not shy or skittish or slightly nervous like Mulwati appears to be. I always wanted to see Tlalamba with Hukamuri. But that was just my wish, my dream. He was seen mating with Shadulu not so long ago. So if that was successful and she's pregnant, there could be another litter of Hukadulus. I don't know how long we'll have with them because there's a lot of vehicles wanting to see them, but we'll do our very best. Sam, you are 6. And you're asking about my favorite worldwide species of leopard. Sam, there's actually only one species of leopard, believe it or not. There's only one. And that's the leopard, Panthera pardus. But there's different subspecies, Sam. And what that means is that it's the same species, but they're found in different geographical locations. So you'll find them in different areas of the world. And there's actually 9 different subspecies of leopard. You've got the Amur leopard, the Javan leopard, the Arabian leopard, the North Chinese leopard, the Sri Lankan leopard that I've also seen, the Persian leopard, the Indo-Chinese leopard, the African leopard that you're looking at right now, and the Indian leopard. So they're all leopard. They're all Panthera pardus. But they have a little addition Latin name at the end of that will tell you whereabouts in the world they are found. So DNA-wise and genetically-wise, they're the same. They are a Panthera pardus, but they've probably just adapted unique specializations to the different environments that they live in. They don't all live in the same environments across all of these different countries. But there's only one species of leopard, and that one is my favorite, Sam. That one is the best. So we're going to try and stay with Mr. Hukamuri here as long as we can.
Well, one of my favorite species of antelope is impala. I think they're so overlooked because they're so abundant. But I mean, the fact that they're so abundant is the reason why I think they're amazing. Their behavior, the social structure, the breeding habits, everything about them means that they're super successful. Even their digestive system and what they eat. Mixed feeders, breeding en masse with a harem structure where one male dominates a herd of 20, 30, 40, 50 females. They all give birth at the same time. They eat anything that they can. That's obviously vegetation. They're herbivores. It's just really, really successful. So what you're seeing there now is a little group of females and their youngsters. The other impalas have moved off with the wildebeest and the zebras, and these ones are sticking around there close to the small termite mound where the grass is probably quite nutritious and the vegetation. And a couple of the lambs are frolicking. It's nice and open there, so it's safe for them to do that. Oh, they're getting that thing. We call it the zoomies. Look how they do, and they bounce like that. That is typical behavior that they'll need to display as they get older when they're chased by a predator and they're all running together. You'll find some of them will start bouncing like that to show off how much energy they have and how quick they are. And that will be what tells the predator that they shouldn't try and chase them because we're too fast. It's a really amazing strategy. All these strategies together mean that they are super successful antelope, numbering in the hundreds of thousands just in South Africa.
Now, building on that wonderful question by Sam about species, most of us will be familiar with the movie Black Panther. I happen to love it. But the term Black Panther is actually quite a broad term that has different meanings depending on the area of the world that you're in. So in Latin America, Black Panther is actually the name for the melanistic jaguar. So it's a jaguar you're talking about when you say Black Panther. But in Asia and Africa, when you use those words, it's the leopard you're referring to, the black leopard. Now in North America, if you use the word Black Panther, you're normally referring to either black jaguars or pumas. So this is due to melanism, and it's the same species. It's still Panthera pardus. It's still a leopard, but what's happened is that there's an undue development of the dark-coloured pigment called melanin in the skin. And this is why the leopard looks entirely black. And melanism comes from a Greek word, and it basically means black pigment, as you could have guessed. And it's actually been proven that melanistic cats have a more balanced nervous system and a faster response than other cats. I'm not entirely sure why, but there was a study that proves that melanistic cats have a more balanced nervous system. And you do find black leopards out here. They're not completely black. If you look really closely, you will see the outline of rosettes, but they do appear completely black. You will find them in areas like Kabini in India, and there's also said to be quite a high population of them in Harena Forest, Ethiopia. I actually went to Harena Forest, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life. We didn't see a leopard, but it is said that there's quite a high population of melanistic leopards there as well. So when you say Black Panther, you could be referring to different species. And the opposite of melanistic is, of course, albinism, if you're an albino. And in between, you've got leucism, leucistic. Josh, they can and they do, but they tend to avoid it. Oh my goodness, Hook, can you please stop being so cute? That is ridiculous. You can't imagine him fighting. Yes, he can fight. but they'll avoid it. Now you've got to think of a leopard's social structure. A leopard like Hukumuri, it's already lost an eye, he's solitary. To engage in a battle is probably not the wisest thing to do. And that's exactly why leopards, when they're trying to establish social dominance, they're trying to claim a territory, they'll call, they'll saw, they'll scent mark, they'll scrape. They'll leave urine trails, and they'll leave really obvious piles of scat, which the vehicles normally drive over, which is just wonderful. But it's obvious. They're not discreet about their scat, and this is all efforts to mark their territory, as well as sebaceous glands on their cheeks. They're trying to advertise to avoid confrontation. They're trying to warn intruders, hey, guys... Hukumuri, you are looking so fine right now, my boy, so fine. They're trying to advertise to warn intruders, don't come in, just don't bother. I'm here, it's my territory, go away. They want to avoid confrontation. Getting injured is not going to help a solitary animal who has to hunt and feed themselves. So they do something called lateral presentation. We saw Hukumuri do this with Mulwati over the Shadulu mating sighting, where they'll walk side by side, sawing, trying to make themselves look as big as possible, to present themselves to one another, to avoid conflict. Okay, so I'm going to sit with Hukumuri just a little bit longer, and we are going to send you over to Mike and his elephant.
So we had a really awesome view of this elephant. Of course, now he's decided to move away from us, and it's going to go too far behind the vehicle where we can't really see him. But he had a very, very swollen lip. I wish we could have shown you it, because it was really swollen on the one side, and he was walking towards us. We were sitting in front of a little mud wallow where this elephant then came directly to the mud wallow, and we watched him. He was really throwing dirt like onto his lip, underneath his trunk or underneath his tusk, and he was trying to like scratch at it, and then he went throw mud under it, and it's really swollen. So he's obviously got an infection under his tusk there. We can't unfortunately go there. He's going into an area we can't film, but it was really interesting. I've never seen an elephant with a wound like that before. I just wanted to go there and with like a toothbrush and just like scrape out underneath his tusk there to try and see if I could help him, because it was really interesting to watch. I mean, you could really see it was trying to spray the mud under its lip to try and get at whatever it was that was lodged in there, causing it to be so swollen. You know, sometimes when you go to the dentist and there's something stuck under your gum, and that's what's calling your mouth to, and it must be very painful. So immediately when it came towards us, I actually said to Seb, let's rather move away from this elephant. He looks pretty calm, but he's got this massive toothache, and I'm sure it was going to be causing problems. Marianne, it's quite possible. It's an unusual place for there to be a tick or a parasite like inside, underneath its gum, where the tusk is, because I think when it's feeding, pushing against stuff, doing all sorts of stuff, those parasites will be getting crushed and squashed. So I think it's probably more likely to have been a thorn or a piece of splinter that's gone under there, and it's actually wedged under its lip, and it's causing it to be very swollen and uncomfortable. Now, these animals are quite resilient. It's probably going to eventually work its way out through the normal action of it eating and breaking branches and things. But I think it's less likely to be a parasite and more likely to be a wound of some sort. And wounds inside the mouth, especially in an area where there's lots of food going all the time and muddy, dirty water, it's probably not healing that well because of the constant movement of its trunk and feeding and that kind of stuff. But I'm sure eventually it will work itself out. They're very tough animals, very resilient. But it was important that we moved away from the elephant because animals are generally quite predictable. But that one had an injury that could potentially have been causing it lots of pain and therefore make its behavior unpredictable, because perhaps we're not doing anything wrong, but the elephant just gets annoyed by the pain and just decides to take it out on the nearest person or vehicle or creature. So it was best that we just moved away to give it space rather than to sort of wait it out. I always try and be more cautious. If it was not for that, I would have probably just waited there and the elephant would have probably just mud-wallowed right next to us. We would have been spattered by the mud. But anyway, quite a beautiful experience, and nice to be able to be so close to that elephant and really see that injury, which I hope will turn out just fine. See, it's a nice afternoon. The sun is starting to go down. Let's send you back over to Lauren in the meantime.
A tawny eagle off in the distance. A hyena walked past as well, and Hukumuri hasn't blinked an eye. He has rolled back over though, which is wonderful. I didn't recognise the hyena. We are quite far on Simbambili, and of course as soon as we got there it moved. I also really want to go to the hyena den, but I think I'm just going to stay as long as I can in this sighting and spend time with this boy. You can see he's quite heavily scarred facially as well. He's definitely been through the wars, old Hukumuri. He's been seen numerous times with porcupine quills sticking out of his neck. He definitely goes after porcupines, but he's renowned for hunting warthogs. But it is starting to get much cooler. Andrew obviously had Shadulu and she was heading back west. She was heading this way. And for a male leopard within their territory, within their area that they claim as theirs, they will have females. Many females. The bigger the territory that you have and you can claim as yours, the more female territories you can have residing within your territory. The more the better. It means you get the chance to be the dominant male over all of them, and you can get mating opportunities with all of them. Sorry, I was just communicating with another vehicle there. Ava, you're asking which animal is fastest, a leopard or a cheetah? Well, I can tell you, 100% a cheetah, without a doubt. Cheetah's actually the fastest land mammal. So they're faster than lions, they're faster than leopards, they're faster than any of the land mammals. All the antelopes, the impala that you see running, even the small ones that seem to be able to run really fast, like the steenbok and the duiker, the cheetah is the fastest. They can get over 110 miles per hour. But their bodies are equipped for being fast. Now, Hukumuri here's a leopard, and his body is magnificent, but it's not really equipped or specialized for being fast. You see, he's big, he's bulky, he's muscular, he's got a really, really large skull, large teeth. All of these things would weigh him down if he was to try and run fast. They can run fast, leopards, but not for long. Short bursts of speed, and then they need to rest again. Leopards here, they are specialized for going up the trees. They're so remarkable at doing it. Their claws, now you can't see the claws, they're hidden inside his big paws here, but they'll bring out their claws and they'll cling onto the bark and they'll pull themselves up to the very, very top of trees. So they'll pull themselves right up to the very, very top. Now, cheetahs can't do that. They can climb trees, they can jump and spring onto trees, but they're not as equipped at it as a leopard is. Leopards are the best climbers. So each predator out here, your hyenas, your wild dog, your cheetah, your leopards, and your lions, they're all equipped at being sort of specialized at something different. Lions, power. Leopards climbing trees. Cheetahs, speed. Wild dogs, their pack, their numbers, their social unit. And hyenas, well, bravery. That's the word I'm going to use right there. Bravery. Oh. Good morning, Hukamuri. Welcome to today. You see the dragonflies keep flying in front of the camera. You see how his eye on the right's a different colour, Ava? He's blind in that eye. He's still a remarkable hunter. He's so gorgeous. He's got very tattered ears and a scarred face. You can see that he's definitely been through the wars. He's had a lot of battles. Competition for the ladies and for food. He's not that tall though. He's definitely not as large as Tingana when you compare him to Tingana. Tingana's larger. But I think we have to pull out of this sighting now. I think we've had our time up here. So this may be the last visual that you see of Hukamuri himself. What a wonderful time with our gorgeous leopard here. And talking of cheetah, we're going to send you across to Kim, who already has them.
Welcome back. So we have found some cheetah. Not actually the cheetah that we set out to look for, but cheetah nonetheless. And although at the moment you can only see one, there are in fact 5 cheetah here. They're all hiding in that thicket. And yeah, this is actually shame. Well, I suppose it's quite a sad story, but also quite a happy success story. So it's 5 cheetah sub-adults. They're about 10 months old only. And when they were, I think, 5 months old, their mother was killed by a lion, and one of their siblings was also killed. So they've had quite a tough go of it. And I think it's 2 females and 3 males. And I think that they'll stick together for quite a while. But I mean, it's quite amazing to see 5 cheetah all together. Be a little bit more amazing if they were to come out of the bush and we could actually see that there were 5 cheetah, yeah, instead of just the one. The one that we can see, you can see that it's still quite young. It's got those big cub eyes. And you always know, like an animal that looks young, it's got that kind of different look in its eyes. Can't see it now, but I'm sure that they also probably still have a bit of fluff on the back of their necks. And they I think that the reason that they might have gone into this bush is that there's a wildebeest quite nearby, and he did just alarm call. Maybe they were out in the open and were alarm called at, and just to stop that from happening, they just moved into these bushes. I really, 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 really hope that they come out of this bush. do look quite relaxed there, though. All nice and hidden. What's actually here? Impala's alarm calling. No, they're not alarm calling, they're just snorting at one another. And they're too far away, they can't see the cheetah, so they're not calling at the cheetah. Lawrence, no, I don't think that these cheetah will mate with one another. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are 3 males and 2 females, and what will happen is that the males, if they make it all the way to adulthood, they'll stick together in what we call a coalition, and then the females will split up and they'll become solitary, and they'll probably mate with other dominant male cheetah in the area, but I mean, I'm not quite sure if they can tell that it's their brother and then avoid mating with, I mean, maybe they would, but they will separate, and hopefully that won't happen. But I feel that they probably won't, also because of the fact that these males still will need to establish themselves in a territory somewhere. There are already some dominant males established in the area, and these youngsters will probably not be able to mate with many females just yet, because those males would be more kind of in charge of the area. So the females will probably mate with the dominant males before they get a chance to hopefully not mate with their siblings.
My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced, and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So we can now see, we've repositioned a little bit, and you can see that other cheetah a little bit more clearly, and you can see that fluff on the back of her head that we were talking about. Oh, you can actually just see the paws of one of her siblings a little bit behind. We're going to quickly send you over to Lauren.
We've got another leopard on Simbambili. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's Kara or Nzutini. Let's go forward, Simon, before we lose her. I need your help, viewers. Hashtag WildEarth. It's a young female. It didn't look like Kara, so I'm wondering if it's Nzutini. And we just drove into her. About maybe 300 meters from Hukamuri. Let's try and get a better view for you. Now, Kara can be quite skittish, so if it is Kara, not skittish, just apprehensive, I think is a better word. She's over here. Now, I know some of you are incredible at identifying. She jumped! Did you see that? Are you ready, Simon? We're going to have to be quick with this one. I don't know how long we can keep up with her for, but let's try and get a visual of her face for you. Oh, we had her so perfectly as well. Now, let's go forward. If it's Nzutini, that'll be only my second time seeing this female. But it could also be Kara. I really don't know at this stage. Okay, Simon, she's just up ahead here at 11 o'clock. Just walking through. I've not got a good view of her face, so... I think she's hunting. I've seen her pounce twice. I don't quite know what she's pouncing on. Okay, let's try and follow. This might not be easy. We're going to try. If any of you have been managed to ID her from the shots that we've given you, FC will let me know. Simbambili is the land of leopards today. Ah, there she is. Perfect, perfect. I'm going to try and get it. Oh, hello. I think it could be Kara. Goodness, it's been so long since I've seen either of these leopardesses. I had Tiani once, for you all, on a monitor lizard kill. And unfortunately, we were just out with the signal range and she was with Nzutini. Look at her just weaving her way through the thicket. I didn't catch that name, but yes, it's raining leopards in Djuma. It absolutely is. Tungana's on the property as well. I'm not sure, not Simbambili, sorry, Djuma. I'm not sure if Andrew is headed that way. Now she's running. We may lose her. I've just got to be careful I don't get stuck again like I did with Tlalamba the other day. Has any IDs came through, FC? I'm desperate to know who it is. Yes, I thought so. James Richard, you have confirmed it is Kara. Thank you so much. When she turned round to face the camera, I recognise her. So for those who don't know Kara, Kara is Shadulu's daughter. And this will be her starting to get ready with her territory. Now, she's not fully territorial yet, but this will be her starting to practice. Shadulu left a section of her territory for her, as most female leopards do. So Shadulu will have shifted, and Kara will now have a section of that territory. It's gorgeous. And this is Hukumuri's offspring. We've just been with her papa. Okay, let's try and navigate our way here. Gonna have to get on this radio FC, I'm afraid. And just give everyone an update about where we are with Cara. And where are we? That's a great question. So hopefully we're not going to lose her, but it's getting rather thick here. But for now, we're going to send you across to Kim and her cheetah.
So we've, like I said, repositioned, and they are showing like little signs of moving. One of them actually got up and moved, but then just went and lay down behind the sibling. But you can see the odd foot or tail of the rest of this little group every now and again. And this one closest to us that we can see the most of was showing some interest in some Ngala that came past. It's the Ngala bull, which I think would be a little bit too big for these 5 youngsters to go for just yet. But as they get a bit older and more sitting up. Yeah, as their skills develop, I think the 5 of them will be quite a formidable hunting team if they can get it right. Oh no, it's not the direction we were hoping it would move in. Okay, so now we can see a foot. There's another one standing up. I can just see there's a whole bunch. 2 are standing up now. Come on. Come out, you guys, come out. It does look like they're kind of going deeper into, but I mean, they might come out the other side. Oh, they're moving out. Looks like they're coming into the quarry. I think, well, let's just... Yeah, I can see them moving out the back. Oh, okay, I'm just going to move forward. I actually think that they might be sitting out on the other side of the bush. There we go. There are 5 of them. They look quite nervous. I don't think they're very used to vehicles, so I don't think I'm going to reposition again, even no matter what they do. I'm going to see the 4 of them at the moment. Oh, they are so sweet. You can see they're all still quite fluffy. They've really settled down quite a bit. It's just that one sitting behind the bush looked a bit nervous. Oh, they are so beautiful. This is so cool to see this many all together. So you can see that 2 of them are collared. I think that the habitat team here on Phinda has been keeping quite careful kind of track of them, just making sure that they are doing okay as little orphans that they now are. I'm very, very, very chuffed that they decided to come out. They all like yawning. You see that one just nibble the branch. Cute. What was the purpose of that? I wonder where the fifth one is. Oh, okay. I've just seen the fifth one sitting right out in the open, but it is behind a bush for us. And like I said, I don't want to move again because I think that, I don't want them to be agitated, and they seem to have settled down quite nicely. That would depend on whether the other cheetahs are male or female. So if they came across some dominant male cheetahs, then that would be a very dangerous situation for these youngsters to find themselves in, because the males would, the males would probably try and kill these cubs. If they're not their own cubs, if they aren't their offspring. Female cheetah, I'm not really sure what would happen if a female cheetah came across them. I think that they'd probably just avoid each other, try and stay out of each other's way. One is now walking, coming out from behind the bush. Wonder if his siblings will follow him. Be quite cool to see them all walking in a row. Did a little call there. The other one's coming down. So you can see they're still very small. Definitely not fully grown. Only at about 2 years old, maybe even a little bit older than 2, will they actually be fully grown. Shame that one's definitely a lot more nervous than the others. It's like skirting around inside the bushes. This is the direction that... Oh, here comes the nervous one, shame. She keeps looking at us. And she's doing a bit of a wider berth than her siblings did. Shame. Oh, that's a male, actually. Damn it, at this age they'll be going for very small prey species, so things like scrub hares. They'll luckily for them, it is baby season at the moment, so there'll be loads of impala lambs, wildebeest calves, warthog piglets, and even zebra foals for them to maybe hunt. So I think that's probably what they'll aim for. Right, we're going to quickly send you back to Lauren, but we're going to see if we can get another view of these guys, but they do look like they are heading into a bit of a thick area.
And we've bumped into a leopard. I think it's Cara again. We lost her. But I'm just surprised that she managed to get ahead of us. She's busy leopard. I don't think it's a third leopard, judging by... Hello, yes, it's Cara.
Hello.
She's watching us, Simon. Yeah, we've got her here. If you just make your way to junction of One-Eyed Pan with Triple M. Now, Cara is known, I really don't think the word skittish is right, but she does get a little bit nervous around vehicles. And I'm just going to move for this vehicle. Hold on, Simon. This is not going to be easy viewing for anyone. So sometimes they limit the sighting to, I think you might get her here, to 2 vehicles. She's habituated, but she's also not territorial yet. Pushed out by Shadulu. Is this Cara? Yes. So we lost her and she just jumped ahead of us. Last week we were not finding any leopards whatsoever. Becky, a lion would be able to smell a leopard for sure. But if you think about it, it doesn't have the biological need to understand leopard's territory. So it'll smell if a leopard's nearby. We're going to go forward. But in terms of understanding a leopard's territory and understanding the individuals that hold it, it doesn't have that need. It's not going to waste energy where it doesn't have to. Why would a lion need to understand who's territorial? Yeah, she's walking into the thicket. I think I'm going to let this other vehicle just pass and go in there and see if we can get her from... Sorry, everyone. I'm just going to let them pass. Yes, they don't have the need. It's energetically costly to compute, to understand, to send, to sort of understand exactly... Sorry, the director's talking in my ear and there's a vehicle and I completely lost my thoughts. We have lost a leopard. I'm afraid we don't have anything to look at. Let me start again. So yes, the lion will not be able to identify a leopard's territory, but they will be able to identify the fact that there's a leopard nearby. There's a male leopard nearby or a female leopard. But leopards, individual leopards, can actually identify other individuals by their unique code in their marking fluid. They've got a unique code. Kalamba will not be the same as Cara, will not be the same as Shadulu, will not be the same as Hukumuri. Oh, we've got some elephants. Let's see if we can give you some view of elephants, and we might end up seeing Cara again. We also might not. She's not loving the camera today. So I hope that made sense in amongst my mumble jumble there. There's a lot of multitasking. But yes, an animal is only as intelligent as it needs to be, and an animal will only have a cognitive ability that it needs. It doesn't need to understand the movements of leopards. Doesn't need to understand their territory. It needs to understand its own. It needs to understand neighbouring prides. Talamatis need to be able to recognise the Inkahumas, and the Inkahumas need to be able to recognise the Talamatis, so forth. They don't need to understand who's Tingana and who is Hukumuri and vice versa. Okay, I think we've lost our elephants and our leopards, so I may finally get to the hyena den, unless we end up bumping into another leopard. So for now, we're going to send you across to another live location.
Thanks, Lauren. And yeah, so there's a elephant. It looks like elephant's afternoon this afternoon with a little baby that probably not very relaxed. I think it's something that happened, I'm not sure. A little looks like we're gonna head to the dam there, because there is more of a swimming. Maybe Fhinda is a male, that's why she's not happy. I'm not sure, but we're gonna go to the dam. Hopefully we'll see what's making noises in the waterhole there, Curry Dam. So we're gonna carry on. But it was an update in this area where that's why we work around here. That was a Tingana. It was sighted around here. And then on the eastern side of Agari Dam, and the last sighting that he was moving into the very thick stuff, the guys couldn't keep up with him. And then they say that, if you keep west from that direction, you may end up somewhere around the Agari Dam. So at least we know that could be him that moved maybe between a and opposite, away from this area, where near Webisuk Dam, that side. Oh, there we got our elephant swimming now. Look at them. They're all just having their best of time swimming. Where here, I think it's all about a good timing for them to be this time of the day. Or maybe they might stop swimming because of us. We're here, we will see. It all started again. And just to take a moment of a silence here, just to hear all of the noises in the background. It's such an amazing moment here. So I'm gonna stay put here. Hopefully they stay a little longer, this elephant in this waterhole.
So these cheetah are now on the move, walking across this open area, which is so cool. I'm really happy that we got to see them coming out of the bush. There are some zebra in the background, and you can see that they are staring quite pointedly at the cheetah. Look at that one's like walking straight towards the zebra. It's definitely a little bit too big for you, unfortunately. Or maybe they haven't quite realized what they can and can't hunt yet, because oh my gosh, he's literally stalking them. I think she's gonna chase them. She's got her head down and ears out, like she's gonna try and... No. Oh, I thought she was gonna have a little run. The cheetah are literally walking towards him, though. There's another one that's having a go. I mean, you can see those zebra aren't very worried. You can see the size difference. I don't think they do have anything really to worry about. But wow, I mean, how cool is this? No ways. It's just a little half-hearted trot. I think they were feeling like they should be running away, and they're not, so they're just kind of trying to show them who's boss.
Thanks, Kim. So, lucky enough, we still got these elephants still swimming here. But we're looking at all different age layers. So there's probably still in part of the herd. And then that female that she was trying to move away from us, it happens maybe she's part of the herd, but maybe she's not comfortable with company, cars. Because she actually moved. I don't know, I was expecting her to return back to this waterhole. But maybe she just moved permanently for now. Where elephants, when they swim, this time of the day, it's always so important to see them swim. Where it's actually been very hot day today. But they can do it at night when they want to, not a problem. Elephants love water, and they love playing with water, swimming. They're all defecating, they urinate in the water at the same time while they're there. In the next moment, Daniel, 11 years old. Indeed, you're very right. It's such an amazing to see them do that, especially, oh yeah, we're looking at the different age, but looks like all young, different age of males. And for them to exercise the energy of it, pushing one another as the best they do when they're outside of the water as well. But now here, there's a lot comfortable of, as you can see, when they do that, they just all of a sudden throw themselves into water and enjoying themselves. Look at that slightly bigger one. It's actually flat in that water. So there's no way they will drown. And they have trunk to take a breath always. Even though they're still one of these young male, they're still far too actually isolated from their mothers, some of those. Where I believe, wherever the herd is now, probably heard what is happening here. So I'm going to be staying put here again, sending you over to Kim with a cheetah chasing on zebra.
So the scene here is still very, very interesting. We had all 5 of them drinking out of that mud wallow over there, or that puddle. And the zebras keep on coming back towards them. They want to keep an eye on them, make sure they don't try anything. And there's been a bit of a back and forth because the zebra keeps coming towards the cheetah, and then the cheetah turns around and like chases them off again. And then it's back and forth and back and forth. And they now lay down there in the grass. We are just keeping our distance because we don't want to intervene too much, and we don't want them to change their behavior because of us. Wildebeest also alarm calling. What an awesome sighting this has been. From them being right in a bush and we weren't going to be able to see them at all to this. Pretty unexpected but exciting turn of events. Dom, yes, the zebras could definitely hurt the cheetah. Zebras have got a very, very powerful kick. And if these cheetah were to chase and try and kind of latch onto the hindquarters of the zebra to try and take it down, the zebra could kick them, maybe get them in the rib cage, and that would be very, very detrimental to the cheetah. It could crack a bunch of ribs, break them, or break any other bones. Cheetah are very, they don't have much muscle mass, so there's not a lot protecting their bones. They're quite kind of, as you've seen, they're quite skinny and they literally just look like skin and bones. There's not much muscle, they're just built for speed, so there's not a lot protecting their bones. Especially these little ones, I think they're a little bit more vulnerable than fully grown cheetah. At least they've spread out a little bit in the open. It's a little bit more characteristic of cheetah to be out in these open areas. Seem quite thirsty. Have all taken turns and going and having a nice long drink at that puddle. And the zebras aren't letting up, they're just still keeping their eye carefully trained on the cheetah. I think that they are quite confident that these cheetah won't do anything. They can see that they're quite small, but out here where survival is the main aim, I suppose you don't want to take any chances, so they're just making absolute sure that they're not under any threat. Well, it's starting to get zebras coming back for a chase. The cheetah do give in when the zebra chases off. I think we'll stay for a while longer. It doesn't look like this interaction is over just yet. But I think that we'll send you over to some hyenas that have been found.
Well, we left the west. Cara, unfortunately, was just a little bit nervy and there was other vehicles there. And I apologise for my meltdown. It's just a lot of multitasking all at one time. And the heat, probably. So we've raced to the hyena den. I think this is Comet. I think I can see a blind right eye. And Corky's little daughter was out having a good play with them as well. I can't see any other adults, but I can see some cubs at the den. Now I'm hoping our IR light works. It's been a bit temperamental these days, and if it doesn't, then of course we'll leave. Comet's one of the males, and it's really, really good to see him around. It's been a while since I've came to the den and seen Djuma clan males around here. Those sightings have been few and far between. I don't see Ribbon, I don't see Heart, June, or Corks, or even Intima. But it's possibly because it's still really, really hot. They might wait until it gets a little bit cooler before they come to the den. I'm pretty sure this is Comet. I don't think he can see out his right eye. The males are welcome here. It's a communal den. It's not that they're unwelcome. They're absolutely welcome. We see Swazi here a lot. But for the other males, a little bit worried about Koza, I must say. Michael and I had a discussion. He's not been seen for a very, very long time. And I also haven't seen Saka. Saka was a very charismatic male, and I have to say, I miss him dearly. He's not been sighted in a long time. The cubs are... Oh, I can see another adult now. That's Ribbon. I can see the limp. Are we able to get a view of her from here, Simon? Possibly not. Daniel, age 11, you're asking, would hyenas kill intruders to the clan? I'm pretty sure it's Ribbon. We're losing a lot of light, but I saw the limp. Yes, they could. They absolutely could. I've seen battles with hyena clans up in the Masai Mara. And yes, clans will stick together and it can get rather nasty. Or is it Ribbon? Hold on, no it's not. Is this Corky? My goodness, everyone, it's not Ribbon, but I did see a limp, so that's also not great news. Not everyone in the Djuma clan can be injured. I'll need your help, hyena experts. I think it's Corks, which would be really good news. We haven't seen Corks in so long. A few of you have actually been worried about her as well. She was seen on the dam cam, though. I think it is. I find it really difficult to tell with the IR light on. I think it's Corky. Ah, what an afternoon. No wonder I'm so discombobulated. What a lovely moment. I didn't catch that name, but you're saying you really hope Ribbon's limp has improved. I agree. I am obviously concerned about her, but I also am very aware that hyenas just bounce back. Really, really bounce back. And they're strong, they're resilient. I think she just needs a really good meal or a few good meals. And I think Ribbon will be fine. but she was looking rather skinny, and I hope her absence at the den tonight maybe signals that she's off getting food somewhere. I think our light's possibly gone off again. Hopefully we'll get it working for you because there's other hyenas around. We can start to identify them. But for now, we're going to send you over to Kim.
Goodness, we've got quite a dramatic scene unfolding here. One of the cheetahs actually did give chase to the zebra, and the zebra obviously turned around and had quite a go at the young cheetah. And there's still this back and forth going on, but it seems to be getting a little bit more dramatic. It's quite difficult light at the moment, so we're struggling to kind of keep our eyes on all of them. I think there's 4 there that we can see. I think like there. Maybe a bit left. And we just, oh, there you go. They're all sitting quite close together, so if you just zoom. Yeah, so like I said, and we are just trying to keep our distance because we don't want to interrupt what's going on. Benjamin, the zebra feel a lot more comfortable knowing where the threat is because then they, you know, the cheetah have lost the element of surprise. And most predators, that is their biggest or most important part of hunting, is the surprise factor. So by the zebra keeping their eyes on the cheetah, they feel a little bit more safe than if they didn't know where the cheetah were. If they walked away, they wouldn't know whether or not the cheetah have like followed them and maybe hidden and will now try and attack them from a hidden position. But this is just so cool, just sitting there regarding each other over that bush. I can't even believe how lucky we are to be seeing this. And it's also very, I suppose, quite a good thing to see, to witness, knowing that these youngsters are, you know, they seem to have a bit of confidence, and even if they know that they aren't going to hunt these zebra, this will probably be helping in developing their skills. Just sussing it out, working out whether or not a zebra is a viable option to hunt. I think that deep down the instinct tells them that no, it's not a viable option, but, you know, why not try, practice? I wonder what's going to happen tonight with these cheetah. I think they're in for an interesting evening. They were very, very skinny Yeah, the zebras look like they're walking past them, or... Yeah, it looks like the zebra might be losing interest. They're kind of walking past and away from them. Anyway, I think we will stick with them for a while longer. Just see what transpires here.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Thank you very much. So now the elephants have disappeared from the water hole at Gari Dam, where we had spent actually enough time with them. They swim, hoping to actually see the Tingana arriving to the dam, since he was last seen moving into the block, heading in a kind of direction towards that dam. And we now driving around here, checking a few roads, maybe may bump on him, because this is kind of a time where most kids, they get mobile and they're nocturnal, and they, of course, where he was moving in that heat, like around maybe 5 o'clock, somewhere there. It was still, for them, temperature was still high. And then it happens maybe he went lie down, what I think, because they do that. Or he might take in another direction than we think. So it's good to check anywhere it's possible. Roads is most, because they mainly use roads, especially when they reactivate their scent. And then, but I'm not sure Tingana what his plan, if he's gonna maybe go back south or much west across quarantine. Because what I heard is that Hookmuri is actually not far, by the western border that side. And then, we're not sure what's going to happen. But if we find him, then we know where he's going to be mobile to. And then the next time, maybe we're going to look for him. We know where exactly to check, which now we know where to check. Because since he was last seen yesterday afternoon, this morning he was not found anyway. And nobody knew that he's still around until one guy found him moving across to one of the block. So while I'm shining around in these roads here, checking for possibly finding him, I'm going to be sending you to Kim with a cheetah. So sorry about that. So yeah, this is our plan. So we're gonna drive, possibly stop, listen to any of audio, because sometimes they vocal, sometimes they get spotted by antelopes, which antelope they make sound when they spot in danger. So this is where you would know that he could be around, or for sure tracking this kind of kids. It's not only finding their tracks, sticking with them, but you listen to any sound around. If there is any birds going crazy, if it's during the day, but at night, then you will be relying on many of these antelope, that if they ever bark, there's a kudu barking around, and then maybe possibly that they're in danger, because mainly when they do that barking sound, it's all about a warning to other animal that they're around, warning to this very same species of the same animal. So Tingana, what I saw, is actually doing great, and then looks like he's well healthy still. He's not actually bad, and what I'm seeing happen is that looks like he's standing up for his rights. He's not giving up to anybody yet, which if it happens, he come back this way, he maybe will stick around here. Maybe for the whole night, hunting around, possibly maybe kill something, that you'll probably stick around for a while. And I know you would be actually very hungry right now, because and then since he was last seen the day before yesterday with that full belly, and yesterday morning he was seen, he was not that full anymore. And I would imagine actually, finding him this evening just to see what he's like. In that case, you would be pushing to hunt, also to scavenge. Use a sense of smell. Whatever died, doesn't matter how far it is, they will be able to get into the area. But these scavenging things, especially for leopards, sometimes comes vulnerable for themselves. Nelly. So no, not at all. You're asking if there is a colors actually, is any disadvantage on animals. So not at all. Usually the color is not, interfering or attracting any of other problem against the other animal, even from the same species. So it's only important for when they put the color in animals, for that kind of research they're doing. Probably the park's board when they want to find out how that animals move far, how far they go. When they run in which speed, this kind of thing. And then, of course, their activities. So it's not there for recording what they kill, and not at all. So only just to tell how far they move around. Also, when they ever run, how far they run, also that color can work on that. So, but once it's done, the research, they will disconnect that color. Or sometimes if that animal sometimes was doubted somehow, where some animal there's a disease take places, more especially cats, where some of them they carry this type of disease, which is TB, and then it's that they have to do that. They have to collar the animal, and then make sure when they collar that, they'll keep on track on see where it is. So for the next time, they need to doubt it again and give medication, which is easy for them. So a collar helps that way, and then we've seen it happens not only on cats, but on a lot of animals, on buffaloes, on elephants. And without this collar, then it won't work in this reserve, because some animal which they're doing a lot of studies on them, or of course they have to treat them some diseases, you won't know when the next time you treat them, they go far, and then you won't find them. So you need a tracker which would assist you navigate. And then you can just fly or drive into an area where you know the GPS will take you into, and then you do your work easily, very quickly, than just driving around, just estimating to find the animal that is not around. So, and then Amanda, so you're asking what is the scariest, closest encounters as a guide? Well, myself, personally, I know I never actually come across any of a difficult situation, but I know as a guide, what you come across is, it's one of these big 5 animal charge, and then where everything lost control. But mainly when you're on a walk, and then you take guests to the walk, and where then situation like that happened, and what you give command to your crew that, okay, if that happens, you need to stick to my procedure. If I say don't run, stay behind me. Then if it happens, one person lost control and then he ran separate way, then comes very difficult for you to defend, especially the single person that's running away, because now you have to, stick with the rest that are right behind you. Those that actually obey the rules, your procedure. That can be actually a very serious challenge as a guide out in the bush. That's dangerous encounter I can actually put as a first. If you're a guide, you mostly come across those situations where mainly you're going to have to shoot animal that way because maybe something went wrong, or maybe you didn't actually either follow instruction of how the animal behave. Animal behavior is different. So elephant herds, more especially, can be very deadly if you walking into them, especially herds, where expose yourself in there. They can smell you. You don't actually downwind them. And then that can be sometimes come a little bit difficult, because then when you expose yourself, the clothes that you're wearing, they can still view you, they still have your side. And then now they have to trying to defend themselves because they provoke. It's all about when you disturb them, you provoke them for their own rights. They have to stand and then defend themselves. Where now you would shoot a lot of animals at once just because of the mistake, that little mistake that happened. So that does sometimes a bit of a challenge as a guide. That's one of their closest encounters with one of these dangerous animals. Looks like we're not getting right to a leopard here. Well, we're still checking just to see if we'll get it. Maybe eye reflections. The light itself can spot wherever it's hiding as long as you can see their eyes. This spotlight. Just to stop if I could actually listen to any audio here. So everyone, we're coming in the end of the show for this evening, and I just want to thank all of you for being part of the show. And then tomorrow again we'll be doing this. Tomorrow's time would be 5:30 Central African time, so for that and then tomorrow I'm hoping that you're all going to be there so that we'll meet again and we're able to enjoy the best of the safari drive. Good evening.